welcome. Be sure to like and subscribe for more scary stories. Or I will come for you. If anyone would like early access to my latest stories and an ad-free listening experience, consider becoming one of the Curator's disciples. The link is in the description below. Finally, a reminder that all stories are available on my podcast. The Curator Dark Web Horror Anthology is available on Spotify and Apple Podcast. Without further ado, today's story, Demons in the Dose, by the Curator. Hey Reddit, this is a throwaway account for obvious reasons. My name is Jax, or at least that is what I will call myself here. I am 23 years old, and right now, I'm holed up in a dingy motel room somewhere in the Midwest. Think flickering neon signs outside the window, threadbare carpets stained with God knows what, and walls so thin I can hear the couple next door arguing about money. I am staring at a cracked laptop screen, the kind you pick up for $50 at a pawn shop. My heart pounding like I have just snorted a line of pure adrenaline. My hands are shaking as I type this, the keys sticky from spilled energy drinks and sweat. I need to get this out before whatever comes next, before the cops kick in the door or my own guilt swallows me whole. This is not some creepypasta or urban legend. This is my life. Spiraling down the drain because of the dark web, drugs, and one night that turned into a goddamn horror show. If you are easily triggered, click away now. This gets dark. It gets real dark. Let me start from the beginning to understand how I ended up covered in blood, waking up next to corpses in a neighbor's apartment that reeked of copper and fear. You need to know where Riley and I came from. We grew up in this shithole town called Elmwood, Ohio. It is a place where dreams go to die. The population is maybe 5,000 on a good day. Mostly folks clinging to fading memories of better times. Endless cornfields stretch out like a yellow sea, broken only by rusted factories from the 1980s that shut down before we were born, leaving behind skeletons of metal and graffiti. Main Street is a ghost town. More boarded-up stores with faded for-lease signs than open ones, a single gas station where the pumps sometimes work, and a library that is open 3 days a week if you are lucky. Our families were the classic American dysfunction, the kind that breeds quiet desperation and hidden scars. My dad split when I was 5, packing a duffel bag one rainy afternoon and driving off in his beat-up Ford without so much as a goodbye note. I remember watching his taillights disappear down the gravel road, the sound of gravel crunching under tires echoing in my head for years. Mom tried to hold it together at first, working double shifts at the local diner, flipping burgers and pouring coffee for truckers who tipped in change and leers. She smelled like grease and cigarette smoke when she would come home, collapsing on the couch with a sigh that seemed to carry the weight of the world. But her back gave out when I was 12, a slipped disc from years of standing on concrete floors. That is when she hit the bottle hard. Cheap vodka from the corner liquor store, hidden in paper bags under the sink. By high school, I was pretty much raising myself. Scrounging meals from expired cans in the pantry, doing laundry at the laundromat downstairs when we had quarters, and crashing on friends' couches or sneaking into the old mill for shelter when things got bad. The mill was this abandoned brick building on the edge of town, full of broken windows and pigeon shit. But it had a dry corner where I could unroll a sleeping bag and pretend I was camping. I would lie there at night, listening to the wind howl through the cracks, wondering if this was all life had for me. Riley had it worse, if you can believe it. His folks were religious nuts, the fire and brimstone type who saw the devil in everything from rock music to Halloween candy. They homeschooled him until he was 14, drilling Bible verses into his head like they were math facts, with lessons that started at dawn and ended with prayers for his sinful soul. His dad was a preacher at this tiny evangelical church on the outskirts of town, a squat building with peeling white paint and a cross that leaned crookedly in the wind. The congregation was maybe 20 people on Sundays, all nodding along to sermons about the end times and eternal damnation. But behind closed doors, it was all belts and Bible verses used as excuses for beatings. Riley told me once, in a whisper over a shared cigarette behind the school gym, how his old man would lock him in the basement for sins like sneaking a comic book from the library or getting caught jerking off in his room. The basement was a cold, damp hole with concrete walls and a single bare bulb swinging from the ceiling. He would spend hours down there, scratching drawings into the floor with a rusty nail to pass the time. His mom was not much better. She would stand by, quoting scripture while the belt came down, her face twisted in righteous fury. By the time we met in freshman year of high school, Riley was this skinny kid with wild eyes, always hunched over like he was carrying an invisible weight. He was always drawing twisted shit in his notebooks during class. Demons with jagged horns, monsters ripping apart, screaming figures, and apocalyptic landscapes where the sky rained blood. We bonded over that, I guess. I was the tough guy, getting into fights after school to blow off steam. Bloody knuckles and black eyes from scrapping with bullies, who called me trailer trash. He was the artist, channeling his pain into ink and paper. We would skip class and hide in the woods behind the football field, sharing stories of our shitty homes and dreaming up ways to burn it all down. High school was a blur of petty crimes and first highs. We started with weed from the older kids behind the bleachers, passing joints under the cover of Friday night lights while the crowd cheered for a team that never won. It was nothing major, just enough to make the days bearable, to blur the edges of Elmwood's monotony. Elmwood High was a joke. Overcrowded classrooms with outdated textbooks. Teachers who did not give a fuck and just counted down to retirement, and classes that taught you jack shit about the real world, like how to fix a leaky roof or spot a scam. I dropped out in senior year after my mom overdosed on painkillers she got from some sketchy doctor in the next town over. The official story was accidental, a mix-up with her dosage, but I knew better. She had been done with life for years, her eyes hollow and distant as she stared at the TV static late at night. I found her on the kitchen floor, foam at her mouth, an empty pill bottle clutched in her hand. The funeral was a sparse affair. A few distant relatives, the diner owner, and me standing alone by the casket, feeling nothing but numb rage. Riley stuck it out and got his diploma, but it did not matter. College was a pipe dream with no money and no guidance. He moved in with me after his dad kicked him out for coming home with a tattoo, a jagged pentagram on his forearm, inked in a back alley shop just to piss the old man off. His dad had screamed about Satan and eternal hellfire, shoving Riley's things into a trash bag and slamming the door. We crashed in my apartment, a one-bedroom shithole above a laundromat that always smelled like mildew and dryer sheets, the vibrations from the machines below lulling us to sleep or keeping us awake, depending on the night. We got jobs at the local warehouse, packing boxes for some e-commerce giant that treated us like robots, scanning barcodes, lifting heavy crates, and dodging forklifts in a massive, fluorescent-lit hellscape. 12-hour shifts, for minimum wage, with piss tests every month that we barely passed by chugging detox drinks from the gas station. That is when the boredom really set in. Elmwood had nothing. No clubs, no bars worth a damn. Just the occasional house parties where everyone got wasted on cheap beer and regrets, stumbling home under a starless sky. Riley and I would crash at the apartment after work, playing video games till dawn, shooting zombies or racing cars on a glitchy console we had scavenged from a yard sale. We would talk about getting out, starting a band with Riley on guitar and me on drums, or some startup bullshit like an app for anonymous confessions. But deep down, we knew we were stuck, trapped in the quicksand of small-town inertia. That is where the drugs came in. They came in slow at first. Weed led to pills. Swiping Xanax from co-workers' lockers during breaks, popping Adderall to stay awake on overnight shifts. We discovered the surface web forums, places like Reddit's own drug subs, where people shared stories of highs that made life feel epic, complete with glowing trip reports and harm reduction tips. But it was not enough. Riley, with his fucked up childhood scars still raw, craved something deeper, something that could rewrite reality, erase the basement memories and the belt marks. He started talking about the dark web one night after a particularly bad shift, his voice hoarse from yelling over conveyor belts. "Dude, imagine scoring shit that is not even legal anywhere," he said, his eyes glazing over a joint we had rolled with shake from the bottom of the bag. I laughed it off at first, calling it paranoid bullshit, but curiosity got me. Like an itch I could not scratch, we dove in together, downloaded Tor on an old laptop we had pieced together from waste, learned about Bitcoin from shaky YouTube tutorials filmed in basements. Our first buy was simple. Some MDMA from a vendor with good reviews, arriving in a vacuum-sealed bag inside a hollowed-out book from Amazon. That was clever shit. That night, we rolled hard in the apartment, dancing like idiots, sweat dripping down our backs as the world turned vibrant and loving. It was the start. From there, it escalated. Shrooms that made the walls ripple like water, acid tabs that stretched time into infinity, even some coke that made us feel like kings for a few hours, pacing the room with grand plans that evaporated by morning. The dark web was our playground. Markets like Dream or Empire before they got busted. Forums where Anons shared trip reports that read like horror novels, full of warnings about bad acid and fent-laced everything. But it was not just the drugs. It was the thrill. Sneaking packages from the mailbox, hearts racing as we wondered if the feds were watching through hidden cameras. Riley got obsessed with the lore, reading stories of vendors getting doxxed and buyers vanishing without a trace. He would read aloud from threads about bad batches that fried brains or caused permanent psychosis, his voice dropping to a whisper in the dim light of our living room. I played it cool, but it hooked me too. We were nobodies in Elmwood, but on the dark web, we were explorers, pushing boundaries no one else dared. By the time we were 22, we were deep in. Our jobs barely paid for rent and fixes, so we started small-time dealing. Flipping extras to coworkers in the warehouse parking lot, quick handoffs under the cover of cigarette breaks. It was nothing big, just enough to fund the next order. Riley designed our own brand. Little baggies with skull logos he drew by hand, sharp and menacing. We joked about going pro, building an empire from our shithole apartment. Life was a cycle. Work, score, get high, repeat. Friends, we had each other. Girls came and went. Hookups fueled by ecstasy in dimly lit bedrooms, mornings after full of awkward silences, and promises to texts that never happened. No one stuck around our chaos. Looking back, that is the backstory. We were two fucked up kids from a dead town, chasing escapes because reality sucked balls. We thought we were in control, masters of our highs. But the dark web has a way of pulling you under. It whispers promises of more. And more is what led us to Eclipse. At first, our interest was casual. Weed, pills, the basics. But as the months ticked by, we craved novelty. The dark web delivered. After that first MDMA score, we got bolder. Riley found a forum called Hidden Highs, invite only, accessed through a .onion link buried in Reddit comments like digital treasure. It was a gold mine. Trip, reports that detailed every sensation, vendor reviews with star ratings and horror stories, even DIY guides for synthesizing your own shit. We never tried that. Too risky, with visions of exploding kitchens dancing in our heads. We would spend hours browsing, Riley on his phone during work breaks, me late at night after shifts, the blue glow illuminating my face. He would text me, "Check this out," linking to threads about rare psychedelics like 2CB or DMT variants that made users see gods or demons in vivid, terrifying detail. Our second big buy was ayahuasca analogs. Kits with MAO eyes and DMT precursors. We brewed it in the kitchen, following instructions from an Anon who claimed to be a shaman in Peru, measuring powders with a stolen scale and stirring in a pot that still smelled like last week's noodles. That trip, holy fuck. We puked our guts out into the sink, bile burning our throats, then spent 6 hours in another dimension. I saw my mom's face melting into the walls, her lips moving in silent apologies for the years of neglect. Riley relived his basement lockups, but this time he fought back against shadow versions of his dad, punching air until his knuckles bled. We came down laughing, collapsed on the floor in a tangle of limbs, bonded tighter than ever. "This is living, man," Riley said, his eyes bloodshot and gleaming. I agreed, even as the afterglow faded into exhaustion. From there, it snowballed. We ordered ketamine from a Dutch vendor, pure, veterinary grade, arriving in crystalline shards, dissociative highs, where we floated out of our bodies, exploring K-holes like astronauts in void space, time looping in endless echoes. Then fentanyl-laced heroin proxies, dangerous as hell, but with a rush that felt godlike, warmth flooding our veins like liquid sunlight. We were careful. Tested with kits we bought online, little strips that changed color to warn of contaminants. But close calls happened. Once, Riley nodded out so hard on the couch, I thought he was dead, his breathing shallow and ragged. I had to slap him awake, my palms stinging, and he grinned later. Worth it. The interest deepened when we discovered the community aspect. Hidden Highs had live chats, encrypted and anonymous, where we would log in high and share stories. I went by Voidwalker, Riley by Demon Sketch. We met trippers from all over. A college kid in California scoring bath salts that turned him into a wired zombie. A Brit raving about synthetic cannabinoids that turned nights into marathons of endless energy. One guy, Deep Dive, became our go-to advisor, warning about scams and recommending vendors. Stick to reputable markets. He would type in the chat and never chase the dragon too far. But we did. Work suffered. Late shifts, no shows, until the boss fired me after I spaced out and dropped a pallet of boxes, shattering glass everywhere. Riley quit in solidarity, slamming his badge on the desk with a defiant grin. We lived off savings and flips, holed up in the apartment as days blurred into a haze. We ordered drugs, waited for mail, got high, and repeated, experimented with combos. Uppers with downers, psychs with dissos, chasing the perfect synergy. Riley's art got darker. He painted canvases of twisted figures under blood-red skies, brushstrokes frantic while tripping, claiming the drugs unlocked his mind's hidden chambers. Then came the obsession with exotics. Standard stuff bored us. We hunted rare chems. Salvia extracts that induced terror trips, 5 minutes of hell where reality folded like origami. Ibogaine for resetting brains. We tried it once. Riley hallucinating his dad, forgiving him before beating the shit out of a pillow in rage. Dark web markets evolved. Silk Road 3.0 knockoffs, Alphabet reboots. We used VPNs, tumbled bitcoins through mixers, felt untouchable. Our interest peaked when Deep Dive mentioned designer highs. Custom synthetics from Chinese labs. Eclipse is the new king, he posted. An opioid psych blend. Melts your reality. But be careful. Bad trips are biblical. Forums buzzed. Users reported euphoria beyond words. Visions of alternate worlds. But warnings too. Overdoses, psychosis. Riley was hooked. We gotta try it, Jax. This is the one. I hesitated. The fentanyl scares were fresh, but curiosity won. We pooled cash, bought a gram from a vendor with 99% feedback. Waited 2 weeks for the package. A plain envelope with powder in a tiny vial labeled research chemical. That night, we dipped in small, snorted lines off a mirror. It hit like a truck. Warmth spread, colors intensified, then dissociation where walls breathed. We chased it harder each time. Eclipse made everything epic. Music pulsed in our veins, touches electric. But shadows crept. Paranoia whispers, faces in mirrors twisted. Riley loved it. I would wake him from stares where he would mumble about watchers. Our neighbors, the Millers, started bugging us. A nice family next door. Mom, Dad, 2 kids, boy 10, girl 8, Mrs. Miller, knocked once. Smells weird. We laughed it off, but under Eclipse, it festered. Riley whispered one high, "They are spying." Our world shrank to the apartment, the dark web, and highs. Friends ghosted. Family, none left. We were addicts, plain and simple, but we called it exploration. Eclipse pulled us deeper, promising ultimate escape. Little did we know, it was building to something monstrous. This is where shit gets real. By now, we had been on Eclipse for weeks. Doses ramped up from pinches to full lines. The high was euphoric apocalypse. Bodies numb, minds exploding in fractals. But side effects mounted. Insomnia hit hard. We stayed up for days, eyes sunken like pits, crashing into blackouts that left us disoriented. Paranoia bloomed. Every car outside was cops, every knock the DEA. Riley was the worst. He paced the floorboards, creaking under his feet, sketching conspiracies on napkins, ranting. The Millers are in on it, listening through walls, reporting our orders. The Millers were average folks. Dad worked construction, coming home in dusty overalls. Mom, a teacher at the elementary school, always with a tired smile. Kids polite, waving hello as they played in the shared hallway with toy cars and dolls. But our smells and noise pissed them off. Once, Mr. Miller banged on the wall during a loud trip, the thud echoing like thunder. Under Eclipse, it amplified, Riley said. They are demons, his eyes wild with dilated pupils. I laughed, but it stuck, burrowing into my brain like a parasite. That weekend, we scored big. A fresh batch, vendor claiming purest yet. Friday night, we prepped, locked doors with extra chains, blacked windows with trash bags taped up, played a playlist of dark ambient tracks that droned like a heartbeat. Started slow, but greed took over. Riley urged, one more line. We snorted, smoked, even boofed residue for faster hits. The high crested. World dissolved into pulsing voids. Euphoric terror. I flew through stars. Riley fought shadows. Then the turn. Paranoia spiked. Whispers from walls. Miller voices, accusing. Riley screamed. They are coming. Grabbed a kitchen knife, blade glinting under the lamp. I nodded, bat in hand from under the bed. Reality fractured. We smashed through the thin wall. Drywall crumbling in clouds of dust. Chaos erupted. In their living room, Miller's watching TV. Cozy scene shattered. Dad jumped up, face contorted in shock. I swung the bat, cracked his skull with a sickening thud, blood spraying warm and sticky across my shirt. Mom screamed, high-pitched and piercing. Riley stabbed. The blade sank into her chest with a wet squelch, her gurgling as she collapsed in a heap. Kids woke, ran. The boy to the kitchen, slipping on linoleum. I chased, tripping over toys that scattered like shrapnel. Grabbed him by the collar, bashed his head against the counter. Crunch, brains spilling like jelly. Gray matter mixing with spilled cereal. The girl hid under the bed, whimpering. Riley dragged her out by the ankle, slashed her throat. Arterial spray painting walls red, her twitching as eyes pleaded in silent horror. We laughed. Manic, high-fueled cackles, echoing in the blood-soaked room. Bodies mangled. Dad's face caved like a pumpkin. Mom's guts exposed in ragged tears. Kids' limbs akimbo in unnatural angles. Blood pooled, soaking the carpet squishy underfoot. We smeared it on our skin, danced in the gore like primal rituals. Then blackout. World fading to nothing. After the climax, the aftermath, I woke in hell. Sunlight piercing through curtains we had torn, head throbbing like a drum, bodies everywhere. Millers twisted in rigor mortis. Blood congealed into sticky puddles that attracted flies buzzing lazily. Riley stirred beside me, vomited bile onto the floor. Horror hit like a wave. Memories flashed. Screams, swings, stabs. What the fuck? I whispered, voice cracking. Panic set in. Sirens distant? Or imagination? We cleaned frantic, wiped prints with bleach-soaked rags, but it was futile, smears everywhere. Grabbed their cash from a wallet on the table. Our drugs from next door fled in Riley's rusted pickup truck to a motel 2 states over. News exploded on every channel. Family slaughtered in Elmwood home invasion. Cops hunt 2 males seen fleeing. Descriptions matched us. Grainy security cam footage from a gas station en route. Riley cracked under the weight. Guilt trips where he would curl up fetal, sobbing about the kids' faces. talking suicide with a belt looped around the bedpost. I numbed with Eclipse remnants, snorting lines off the motel dresser to drown the screams echoing in my head. Did we turn ourselves in? No. Riley overdosed in the motel 3 days later. I found him blue-lipped on the bathroom floor, needle still in his arm, eyes staring vacant at the ceiling tiles. Foam at his mouth, just like my mom. I didn't call 911, just grabbed what was left and ran, hitchhiking state to state, sleeping in ditches and abandoned cars. Did odd jobs for cash. Washing dishes in greasy spoons, picking up construction gigs under fake names, always looking over my shoulder for flashing lights. Now, in 2025, I'm a ghost. I've got a new name. Let's say it's Mark, scrawled on a fake ID I bought from a shady contact in Chicago, and a beard to hide my face, but the paranoia lingers like a shadow. I move every few weeks, from motel to motel, surviving on ramen and black coffee, my dreams haunted by the kids' eyes, wide, accusing, pleading for a mercy we never gave. Therapy, can't afford it, and who would believe this without calling the cops? The dark web. I deleted Tor, smashed the old laptop, but the pull tugs sometimes in weak moments. This confession, is it catharsis? A digital scream into the void? Or bait for the feds, tracing my IP through some back door? If they catch me, it is life in prison, or worse. The chair in some states. Do I deserve it? Yeah, 1,000 times over. Drugs destroyed us, turned 2 lost kids into monsters. The dark web was the enabler, a bottomless pit disguised as freedom. Thanks for reading. Stay away from that shit. It is not worth the void it leaves behind. Even after all this time, the mental scars run deeper than I can describe. What happened that night has fucked me up in ways that no amount of running can fix. I have frequent panic attacks that hit me out of nowhere, like a freight train slamming into my chest, making my vision blur and my breath come in short gasps that leave me doubled over on the floor of whatever dive I am staying in. They get triggered by the smallest things, like hearing a distant siren wailing through the night or catching a glimpse of a happy family walking down the street with their kids laughing and holding hands, which sends my mind spiraling back to the blood-soaked apartment and the screams. Sometimes, I wake up in the middle of the night drenched in sweat, convinced that shadows in the room are the Millers rising from the dead to drag me down to hell. My heart racing so fast, I think it might explode right there in my chest. And the numbness is just as bad, creeping in without warning, like my body is trying to detach itself from the horror I unleashed. Sometimes, I lose feeling in parts of my body for no reason at all, my hands going numb as if they are not mine anymore, or my legs turning to pins and needles, while I try to walk down a street, forcing me to sit on the curb until the sensation creeps back like ice melting. It happens during the day too, maybe while I'm scrubbing dishes in some back kitchen job, and suddenly my fingers go dead cold and useless, dropping plates that shatter on the floor, just like the lives we broke that night. I think it's the drugs lingering in my system, or maybe just my brain short-circuiting from the guilt, firing off random signals that leave me dissociated and floating outside myself, watching my own life like a bad movie I cannot turn off. Insomnia keeps me up for days on end, staring at cracked ceilings while flashbacks play on loop, the crunch of bones and the wet gurgle of blood making me bolt upright in terror. I've thought about ending it more times than I can count, staring at a razor or a bottle of pills, but something holds me back. Maybe the fear of what waits on the other side, or the twisted hope that suffering like this is my punishment. These episodes remind me that the monster I became is still inside, clawing at my sanity every day, tearing away pieces until there is barely anything left. And I wonder if I will ever feel whole again, or if this is just the price I pay for the blood on my hands. I'm just a degenerate piece of shit. No doubt I'll get what's coming to me soon. This is the Curator. I hope you've enjoyed today's scary story. Until next time.